This episode of the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast is brought to you by pmtlifestyle.com, authentic Muay Thai lifestyle by Pu'u. Definitely go check out the website at pmtlifestyle.com for some awesome lifestyle merchandise. That's for those of you out there either involved in Muay Thai, looking at getting involved in Muay Thai, and embrace a healthier lifestyle to live the life of a Nak Muay. Go check it out. Hello, I hope you are having a great day. So this is from the Q&A portion of Angela Chang's seminar we had at Pu'u Muay Thai Santa Barbara on July 30th. If you get a chance to go to any of her seminars here in the US when she visits in the future, definitely go check her out. Make sure to follow her on Instagram at Angela Satan. Sit back and enjoy the Q&A.
Waiting for the Grim Reaper. Okay, any questions? Yes?
What was it like going back to Thailand post-COVID, inviting you?
It was nice because just before my eyes, everything started opening up, and I actually got a lot of fight opportunities when I got back. I was just dealing with some health issues, so I didn't get to fight as much as I wanted to, but definitely a lot of fight opportunities now. So if you guys are planning on going out there anytime soon, you'll be able to get on a show no matter where you are. It's really nice to see.
So you were able to jump back in. It wasn't like a slow, gradual, hey, I'm going to get back into competition. It was like once they said you're able to go back and compete.
Once I was in shape, you started getting fights. Nice. So, yeah. And once you've done the training for a long time, when you acclimatize, it's really quick. It doesn't take me as long to get back into shape there. It's just really getting used to the humidity. That's very difficult. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get climb into that humidity?
Probably about a week and a half. The jet lag bothered me more when I went. Yeah. It's just nothing like waking up at 2 a.m., not being able to go back to sleep. And then you got training at 7 a.m. and you're going to So. Any other questions? Yes?
How many amateur fights did you have here in the U.S. before you moved to Thailand?
4.
4?
Yeah. Over the course of 2.5 years. 2.5. Yeah. It took a while. Yeah. And then it wasn't really my intention to go pro per se. It was more I'm going to stay in Thailand for a little bit of time and just fight as much as I could, because there's not a lot of red tape there when it comes to fights. So I just wanted to accumulate the experience. And then next thing you know, 6 months turned into 6 years. So I had to go pro. No one in their right mind is going to let me fight amateur anymore.
With that in mind, was it harder competing out there and coming back to the U.S. to find fights, knowing that you were competing a few times in Thailand?
A little bit. When I fought on Freedom Fighter in November, I got matched up pretty quick, but they found me someone who's a head taller than me to fight me. I guess people who actually do fight at 115, there's not a whole lot of pros. And then the pros are Janet Tan, she's a one champion. What is she gonna do fighting me on Freedom Fighter? She's not gonna do that, So there's the pro scene in the US. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work. That's why so many people here just stay amateur, because that's how you keep busy. You go pro and you don't get fights. So.
The fight classes are kind of new to me and I don't understand them. So what fight class are you in versus I know it goes by weight, but I was reading things about mini flyweight or all those different classes.
So those are just the names for the weight classes. So then depending on a sanctioning body, atom weight could be it means 105 pounds, or bantam weight means 135 pounds. So those are just cute names for the
Nice.
Yeah. But in terms of the fight classes, there's A class, B class. I think there's also C class too, depending on where you are. A class is it's full rules with the elbows, and depending on the country, it could be gear, no gear. And then B class would usually be modified rules, so no elbows or full gear. Just depends on where you are and what it is that they're talking about.
Yeah, it is very confusing.
The thing is there's so many sanctioning bodies in this country, and each of them vary by their rule set. So it's really frustrating as a fighter here to kind of just try to adapt every single fight count.
Is that what you mean by red tape? like one of the things.
That's one of the things
Yeah.
I mean by red tape. But also here, it's like, you know, you gotta do so much stuff just to fight. I mean, I understand it. Like, you know, you have to. If you're fighting with elbows, you should definitely get tested for like HIV and stuff like that. If you're gonna bleed on people, or if people are gonna bleed on you. So that kind of stuff I get. But it's just extra steps. Things like that are just extra steps that you don't have to do in Thailand. So in Thailand, it's just a matter of like you show up and you're like, oh, you want to fight? Okay, you fight. That's it. So it's very easy to accumulate that experience.
Yeah.
Some people here, they don't have health insurance. If you don't have health insurance, don't get me wrong, maybe you shouldn't be fighting. But if you didn't want to fight, then it would be like an extra step of like, oh, I gotta pay for all this stuff out of pocket and stuff. So that's just one of the red tape.
Yeah. When you're not fighting, do you walk around with your fight weight, or are you up more?
I'm up a little bit more. So I used to walk around maybe 7 to 10 pounds heavier than my fight weight. But since I started weightlifting, my walking weight has gone quite a bit down. So now I walk within 5 pounds of fight weight. And because of that, I try to fight opponents at a lower weight. But they couldn't really find me anymore. So yeah, so I mean it's great. I don't have to cut as much weight. I'm happy. I hate cutting weight.
Do you still get nervous before your fights?
Yeah, I do. It's when I first started fighting, I used to get nervous like my very first amateur fight, I was nervous like a month out. I couldn't sleep. I was like thinking about the fight that's gonna be like a whole 30 days away. Now it's like I don't get nervous until right before I go in the ring, but I still feel it. It's just
Is there anything specific you do that works? That you feel like as time has gone by, you use it, and you're like, okay, I feel confident.
I focus a lot on the game plan, right? So it's very easy to kind of focus on the wrong things, right? Oh my god, I feel so tired. Oh my god, I feel so sleepy. Oh my god, she looks so big. Oh my god, this. Oh my god, that. Just focus on a game plan because as a fighter, that's what you're there to do. You're there to fight. So I try to focus all my efforts on what's going to happen next, as opposed to getting into my own head and defeating myself before the fight has even begun. And I see a lot of people do that, even professionals. They go through a lot of those mental struggles for themselves before they start fighting. Yeah.
How do you cardio? Meaning, how do you develop habits of doing cardio? Because I know that's very helpful in just training in general so you don't gas out, right?
Right. So what I used to do, I used to run like 6-7 miles every single morning before training. And what that did for me was it taught me what it was like to train when I didn't want to train and wake up early and just do the things I didn't want to do, but do them because I had a goal in mind, right? That being said, I do think that long distance running every single day is a little bit overrated if you're just talking about cardio alone. Not about mentality, because I do think that kind of training is very good to make you tough and show you what you're made out of. But in terms of like cardio alone, you benefit more from doing a mix of things, not just the long distance endurance running. Yeah. So what I do is maybe one day I'll do sprints, another day I'll do like a 3-mile run, another day I'll lift weights a certain way, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because as a woman, actually, I would think, considering hormones and things like that, we can overtrain in doing running for too long, and it can affect your hormones in a way where you won't even continue losing weight anymore.
Yeah, the thing with like being a woman and hormones and all that stuff, it's tricky stuff. It's tricky stuff, and there actually, when I started, there just wasn't really any information on it. But now there's a lot of coaches, especially within like the weightlifting industry, they tell you how to train based off your menstrual cycle. So it's like okay, this week, if you're feeling tired, feel free to take the break because you're not going to be able to give it anything. This week, you're gonna have more hormones that stimulate muscle growth, so feel free to lift more weights that week and stuff like that. So there's more information these days, and if you know and you pay attention to the patterns within yourself, you can make it work for you.
Yeah, I guess I was curious if you have been learning about that or interested in that, because I actually was just reading about that as well, and the 4 different parts within the one cycle of how your body actually is going to even benefit in what you're doing.
So you can message me on Instagram, and everyone else can message me on Instagram. I have like a PDF file that I saved from someone else that sent it to me. It's super, super helpful regarding that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate chip cookie dough. But it has to be non-dairy because otherwise I cry.
How do you decide your fight weight?
Honestly, I didn't. In the beginning, because of my height, before I started fighting, one of the coaches was like, "Oh, you're gonna fight at 105." And at that time, I was like 120 pounds, and I was young. I didn't know how to lose weight or cut weight without starving myself. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what I was doing, and my weight just wouldn't come off because after a certain point, your body is just like, it just shuts off. It's just like, no, we don't want to do this. We're just gonna hold on to everything. The thing is, a lot of people are like, oh, my stupid body this, my stupid body that. But actually, your body loves you, which is why it's doing what it's doing, right? So, for my very first fight, one of the senior coaches was like, okay, we're gonna get you a fight at 115 pounds. Very doable. All I had to do was just cut like 7 pounds. I was like, okay, better than cutting 15, right? So I did it, and then that was just kind of the weight I stuck with. And luckily so, now that's like the hot weight to be when you look at like one championship and stuff. So if I went any lower, I probably would have had a really hard time in the beginning learning how to lose weight properly and stuff. And also, if I did go lower, then I would have a hard time now maybe trying to get into one championship because they don't have anything lower than 115. So I didn't really choose it. I know some people they do. And if you have a difficult time making the weight you do now because it's too low, just talk to your coach. Just be like, hey, I don't think this is doable for me. Can we do like 5 pounds heavier, 10 pounds heavier, something like that? You don't want to kill yourself cutting weight because then you're too tired to fight. And what's the point? You know, you train so hard so you can do well in the fight, and you cut all this weight and you're depleted, exhausted, and then you're not performing. So. Any other questions?
Future fight goals? So, plan to stay here in the U.S. and compete, or continue?
No, I think I'm gonna finish out the rest of my fight career in Asia, in Thailand. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of fight opportunities for pros here. For professional fighters, you're lucky to get even 3 or 4 fights a year here. If I stay in Thailand, I can fight every month if I wanted to, you know. So, a fighter's career is just so short-lived. You don't want to waste it just waiting around, and you know, promoters they don't want to pay here. They have all these amateur fighters to choose from. So it's just kind of like it's so good for the amateur fighters, but also it's not good for the pro fighters. But also it's not good for the amateur fighters because now they don't have that next thing to aspire towards.
Who's somebody you want to fight that you haven't fought?
I want to fight Janet Todd.
Janet Todd.
Yes.
All right. So are you trying to get on to ONE FC?
Yes. So a couple of years ago, someone actually reached out to me to offer me a contract. This is like during the lockdowns when Thailand was still shut down. So there weren't a whole lot of us to choose from in terms of women at
that's
15
right.
pounds.
Yeah. When they're doing the fights, like still.
They're
right?
doing the fights within Bangkok, and
Yeah.
you had to be in Thailand. The guy didn't come and negotiate the contract with me, so they found someone else. And then this like just a couple months ago, I was put into that tournament, the Road to One tournament. It's a tournament to win a one championship contract. So I was in it, but then my last fight on Thai Fight, I don't know if you guys watched it, but I hurt my ribs. I finished the fight, but I hurt my ribs after, and they hurt for like a month. And it was like the worst injury I ever got in a fight. So then I told the manager spoke to the promoters, and then they were like, okay, for the first round, we'll give you a bye. And I was like, okay, but for the second one, it's gonna be in August, right? They're like, yeah, well, I'm like, well, I'm gonna be here teaching and stuff. They're like, well, we can't give you 2 buys, so we just put you in the second one. So hopefully when I go back, all those opportunities are still there. Yeah.
Besides Janet Todd, who else is there in your weight class that you know of that's on your radar?
There's Celeste Hansen.
Yeah.
She's an
Australian, yeah.
Yeah, she's very good. There's Barbara Aguirre. She's Brazilian. She fights out of Phuket Fight Club. And there's also Alicia. She's the one championship champ. Yeah. She's also my weight class.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we got Stamp. I'll fight all of them. I'm not, you know. Yeah.
Will you fight them all at once?
Bring it on.
I got a question. So MMA is a relatively new sport, but it's like the combat sport that most people think about here, and it's almost like every year, like there's a new aspect that's introduced, or at least like introduced more, and it kind of changes like the way everyone else goes in the fight game. So like as you get more wrestlers, you see more wrestling heavy MMA approaches. As you see more Thai boxers, you see like better striking come out in MMA. have you seen like the popularity of MMA and other combat sports influence at all the way some techniques are popularized in Muay Thai, or do you think that it's established enough and like separated enough that it really hasn't changed at all with outside influences, especially with like more Westerners in Thailand?
Right. Yeah. So that's a good question. In Thailand, they're still very much Muay Thai purists. So then, unless that person is specifically an MMA fighter, they just teach you straight up Muay Thai. They don't try to adapt it in case you want to do it. They're like, oh, you're here to train Muay Thai, I'm just going to teach you Muay Thai. Why would I teach you Muay Thai for something else if that's not what you are? So in Muay Thai, they're still very much purist. When you come here, you know, you got like the Dutch style, you got all these different styles of kickboxing. They're, I guess in a lot of ways, more versatile in a way. I'm not sure if that's a correct word, but meaning that it can very easily transition into like maybe kickboxing, or someone will do some very unorthodox things that you don't see in Thailand. So I would say in Thailand, they're still very much like, this is our thing, this is how we do it. I don't want to see that weird stuff that you saw on TV. Yeah. Any other questions?
One last one. Before you decided to go pro, and before you even knew if you wanted to go pro, did you have another job that you were working?
So I graduated school, and after I graduated school, I was working in a sales position and also as a physical therapist aide. So my original goal was to go to physical therapy school after staying in Thailand for 6 months. So then basically what ended up happening is I got waitlisted, and then I heard from the school like way too late. So I just decided to stay in Thailand and kind of just like see how far I can go with it. So now what I'm doing is I do freelance social media management and also some like subtitle editing for like Netflix shows and stuff like that. So it's just kind of like one of those skills that you pick up when you're trying to just learn new things, something flexible.
Because how far do you think someone can go having Muay Thai not being their full time?
I mean, look at Janet Todd.
Yeah.
Janet Todd has a full career as like literally a space scientist. You know, so I do think if you're good at time management and just you're okay with sacrificing like a social life, you know, maybe not dating and stuff like that, it's possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. You know, and I know that's not something a lot of people are willing to give up their careers. Right? Because there's stability in that. But you know, if you did decide to focus more on Muay Thai, then you would get what you want out of it faster. If that makes sense. Yeah, like it took Janet Todd a very long time to get to where she is now. And she's almost 40 years old. Right?
How old?
She's almost 40. She's like 36, 37.
Yeah, she took I think like 6-year hiatus from training, something like that.
Yeah. So
And she
it
came back.
did take her a while to get to that point because she had a full-time career. But it's not impossible. Yeah. Well, if there's no more questions, let's take a photo.
Yes. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Pu'u Muay Thai podcast. As always, if you enjoy the content, please go visit the online store. Go order some merchandise, leave a written review. All that stuff helps us continue to grow and provide content for you. And I know that there's a lot of you out there. Shout out to anybody that's reached out to us on Instagram. Be sure you're interacting with us on Instagram and on TikTok. Let us know you heard this episode of the podcast. And we're happy to reach out. If you have any questions or anything we'd like to address, any topics, please send us a DM over on Instagram. Have a great day. Sawadee Cup.